Easter Island's Moai, the multi-ton statues, some measuring more than 20 meters in length and weighing more than 75 tons, were carved out of the island's quarry of volcanic tuff and then transported over the island's rugged terrain.
Easter Island, and you look at the sites there, the statues, the megalithic walls, you realize they're much older than what, history tells us.
Easter Island, and you look at the sites there, the statues, the megalithic walls, you realize they're much older than what, history tells us. For centuries, the colossal stone figures of Easter Island have stood in silence, staring out across the Pacific with expressions that seem to hold something back. They have fascinated explorers, puzzled scientists, and haunted the imagination of everyone who has ever seen them. Who built them? Why? And what exactly are they standing over? Before moving forward, please subscribe to our channel and help us reach our target of 1,000 subscribers. Thanks to AI-powered scanning technology deployed just recently, we may finally be getting answers. And what those scans pulled out of the ground beneath these ancient giants is far more startling than anyone was prepared for. Buried chambers, hidden carvings, possible warnings from a civilization that may have understood something we have completely forgotten. Everything we thought we knew about the Moai is being rewritten right now. The Moai Mystery. Let's not ease into this. Easter Island, known to its indigenous people as Rapa Nui, is one of the most genuinely mysterious places on the planet. You have seen the images, enormous stone figures rising from grassy hillsides, staring into the distance as if watching for something on the horizon. They have always looked like they were keeping a secret. Here is something most people still do not know. For years, the assumption was that the Moai were exactly what they appeared to be from above ground. Massive heads. That is all anyone could see. But excavations have revealed something that changes the picture entirely. Those heads are not just heads. They are attached to complete bodies, full torsos buried beneath the surface, some of them standing over 30 feet tall when measured from base to crown. And now, in 2025, AI has uncovered details that even the most careful physical excavations could not reach. Using ground-penetrating radar, drone-mounted LiDAR scanning, and advanced AI imaging algorithms, researchers built detailed subsurface models of what lies beneath these figures. What came back was not simply dirt and bedrock, it was history, mystery, and something that several researchers have quietly described as a warning from the distant past. Complete torsos emerged in the scan data, many of them covered in carved symbols and inscriptions that had never been documented before. Some of the patterns share characteristics with traditional Polynesian art. Others match nothing in the known record. And beneath several of the statues, the scans detected something else entirely. Voids, empty spaces, chamber-like in shape, sealed deliberately below the base of the figures. The archaeological community was shaken. The internet went into full meltdown. And the question everyone started asking was the same one that now hangs over every scan, every chamber, every carved symbol pulled from the data. What did the people who built these things know that we do not? How AI got involved, a new lens on an old mystery. For decades, studying the Moai meant doing it the hard way. Manual excavation, ground-level surveying, painstaking documentation, and enormous amounts of educated guesswork. Archaeologists did remarkable work under difficult conditions. But the Moai present a particular challenge. Many are partially buried, structurally fragile, and sitting on a volcanic island ecosystem that does not respond well to aggressive digging. You cannot simply open a trench and hope for the best. That is where technology changed everything. In early 2025, a research partnership between Stanford University, the University of Chile, and a private AI technology company called Geodepth deployed a suite of scanning tools across the island. ground-penetrating radar mapped what lay beneath the soil. Drone-mounted LiDAR built three-dimensional surface and subsurface models at a resolution no previous survey had achieved. Multispectral imaging captured data across wavelengths invisible to the human eye. The result was terabytes of raw information covering soil density, structural anomalies, subsurface voids, and the precise geometry of buried features. The data alone would have taken human analysts years to process meaningfully. The AI did it in days. Deep learning algorithms trained on ancient construction patterns, geological layering, and archaeological site records sorted through the noise and began flagging anomalies. Dozens of Moai statues showed complex subsurface structures that matched neither natural geological formations nor anything from previously understood human excavation activity. Some signatures looked like tunnels, others resembled sealed vaults. One produced a pattern that appeared unmistakably to be a staircase, either leading nowhere or leading to somewhere that had been sealed for 1,000 years. And then the carvings appeared. One scan revealed detailed inscriptions far below the surface of a statue's torso, completely invisible from above due to centuries of erosion and burial. These were not decorative marks. Some appeared to be structured glyphs, organized in a way that suggested intentional communication. Writing, symbolic language, warnings encoded in stone. Some researchers believe these could represent an early protoscript, a form of visual communication predating known Polynesian languages. Others connect them to ritual or ceremonial practices with no surviving parallel. The most provocative theory circulating in archaeological circles is that the Moai were not simply memorials to ancestors. They were guardians placed deliberately above sealed sites for reasons that were very specific and very deliberate. None of this would have been accessible without AI. These scans did not just reveal hidden physical features. They opened an entirely new dimension of investigation. Easter Island is no longer just a historical puzzle. It has become a technological frontier. What they found underground, secrets locked for centuries. Here is where the story shifts from remarkable to genuinely jaw-dropping. When the full AI analysis of the subsurface scans was complete, researchers were confronted with a picture that went far deeper, literally and figuratively, than anyone had projected. The Moai were not simply standing on bedrock or compacted soil. Beneath at least 7 of the scanned statues, the data revealed man-made voids with precise geometric profiles. Not natural cavities, not erosion patterns. Chambers roughly the size of a small room, buried more than 10 feet below the base of the statues. One scan returned a signature that matched the profile of a spiral staircase. Whether it descends to something functional or was a purely symbolic architectural element remains unclear. But what is not unclear is this: something was built beneath these statues deliberately, with significant engineering effort, and then sealed. The carvings found on the buried torsos added another layer of complexity. The AI's multispectral imaging uncovered subsurface etchings across the bodies of multiple statues, markings rendered invisible by burial and erosion, but preserved beneath the surface. The imagery that emerged was a mixture of Polynesian petroglyphs, solar symbols, and geometric spirals arranged in configurations that some archaeologists believe could function as astronomical markers, ancient star maps encoded in stone. Others interpret the markings as spiritual or ritualistic warnings, a visual record of events or knowledge that the builders considered essential to preserve. The most striking theory, and the one generating the most serious academic debate, is that the positioning and symbolism of the Moai may have served as a massive celestial calendar, encoding the timing of eclipses, solstices, and other astronomical events with a precision that implies sustained, systematic observation. But it was one specific discovery that sent the wider public into a state of genuine alarm. One Moai, positioned away from the main clusters, carried an image on its torso that researchers struggled to categorize. The carving depicted what appeared to be a wave engulfing a human figure. Something about the composition and the symbols arranged around it suggested a record of catastrophe. A flood, a tsunami, an event so significant that the people who survived it felt compelled to carve the memory into permanent stone and bury it where it might outlast everything else. Was Easter Island struck by a massive natural disaster? Was this image a warning encoded for future generations who might one day face the same threat? No one is asserting a definitive answer. But the symbols are deliberate. The chambers are real, and the intent behind them was clearly not casual. These were not decorations. They were built with purpose. And after more than 1,000 years, AI just pulled back the surface that was concealing them. The terrifying interpretations and why some experts are worried. So now we have the facts: sealed chambers, hidden carvings, buried geometric structures, at least one apparent depiction of a catastrophic flood carved into a statue positioned to face the sea. The physical evidence is documented. The debate is about what it means. And some of the interpretations circulating among researchers are genuinely unsettling. Start with the tsunami carvings. Several experts believe they point toward an ancient cataclysmic event, potentially a massive flood, a volcanic eruption, or even an asteroid impact in the surrounding ocean. Easter Island is volcanic in origin. The idea that its earliest inhabitants survived and recorded some form of regional catastrophe is not scientifically unreasonable. But here is the detail that made researchers stop and look more carefully. Similar markings appear on multiple statues across entirely different parts of the island. The consistency is not random. It is patterned. And a pattern implies a message. In this reading, the Moai are not monuments. They are markers, each one planted at a specific location to record where something happened, or to warn about where something might happen again. Some researchers have begun examining whether the geographical distribution of the statues correlates with known tectonic fault lines or historical tsunami impact zones on the island. The analysis is ongoing and unconfirmed, but the implications, if the correlation holds, are significant. Then there is the theory that has generated the most controversy. Some researchers have proposed what has come to be called the containment hypothesis. It suggests that the sealed chambers beneath the Moai were not burial sites or storage rooms. They were intended to keep something contained. The weight of the statues above, the precision of the sealed slabs, the deliberate burial of the entire structure, all of it points, in this reading, to a culture that believed something had to be permanently kept underground, something that was not meant to be disturbed. Mainstream archaeologists are measured in their response to this framing. They note the importance of not sensationalizing discoveries that belong to a living cultural tradition, and they emphasize that the Rapa Nui people's own interpretations of their ancestors' intentions deserve to be centered in any serious analysis. Many scholars maintain that the Moai were built with reverence and ceremony, not fear, but even some cautious voices have acknowledged that the scale of what AI has uncovered is difficult to fully account for within existing frameworks. Dr. Helena Cruz from the University of Chile stated publicly that the chambers, whatever their purpose, were sealed with a level of engineering precision and sustained effort that was anything but casual. Someone wanted them closed and wanted them to stay that way. The ethical dimension of all this is being debated urgently. Should the chambers be opened? Should physical excavation follow the AI scans? The indigenous Rapa Nui community, whose ancestral connection to the builders of the Moai is direct and unbroken, has called for restraint. They consider the land sacred. They are asking the scientific world to proceed, if at all, with genuine respect rather than the momentum of discovery. The mystery that was always silent is now suddenly very loud, and not everyone is certain they want to hear what it is saying. If there is one combination guaranteed to send the internet into overdrive, it is ancient stone statues, plus secret underground chambers, plus possible apocalypse warnings. Easter Island delivered all three simultaneously. Within hours of the initial reports surfacing, hashtags including Moai Secrets, Easter Island Eye, and Ancient Warning were trending across multiple platforms. TikTok filled rapidly with drone footage of the statues set against ominous music and captions speculating about what was sealed beneath them. One video framing the Moai as guardians of an entrance to the underworld accumulated over 30 million views in 2 days. YouTube moved just as fast. History channels, mystery channels, and conspiracy channels all pivoted to Easter Island content simultaneously. Titles like, "Is there an ancient prison beneath Easter Island?" and "The Moai were warning us all along," pulled in millions of views within days of publication. Some of the content was thoughtful. Some of it stretched well past the limits of what the evidence actually supports. Reddit approached the story like a collective investigation. Entire threads attempted to cross-reference the locations of individual Moai with global seismic and tsunami records. Others focused on the wave carving, comparing it to flood narratives from Sumerian texts, Atlantis mythology, and the biblical flood account. Some users advanced the idea that Rapa Nui may have functioned as a cultural relay point, a place where knowledge from much older and now vanished civilizations was preserved and encoded for transmission to future generations. Meme culture arrived on schedule. Images of the Moai circulated with captions including, "When you realize the heads were never just heads," the original apocalypse preppers, and variations on the theme of ancient warnings being ignored by modern civilization. A major streaming platform announced a documentary series titled Unearthed: The Secrets Beneath the Moai. A science fiction novelist fast-tracked a thriller set on Easter Island involving sealed chambers and a buried prophecy. Within weeks, the Moai had crossed from historical artifact into an active pop culture phenomenon. Not all of the attention was welcomed. Several scholars went on record expressing concern that the volume of viral content was spreading significant misinformation and flattening the genuine complexity of what was found into easy horror movie framing. Indigenous Rapa Nui leaders issued statements asking the global community to engage with their heritage as a living tradition deserving of respect, not as raw material for internet speculation. But the interest shows no sign of slowing. The story has everything required to capture the public imagination at a deep level. Ancient ruins, cutting-edge technology, hidden symbols, and the possibility that a civilization long dismissed as isolated and primitive was trying to tell us something across the distance of 1,000 years. That idea touches something fundamental, the sense that the past knew things we have lost. And in an era of climate anxiety, technological acceleration, and widespread uncertainty about the future, people are looking for that kind of resonance with unusual intensity. What this means for the future of archaeology. The Moai discoveries are doing more than generating headlines. They are forcing a serious conversation inside the scientific community about what archaeology is about to become. Not in 10 years, not in the next generation of researchers. Right now, in real time, as the data from Easter Island continues to be analyzed, and the implications continue to expand outward in every direction. When artificial intelligence can process terabytes of subsurface scan data, identify structural anomalies invisible to human analysis, and generate new research hypotheses in a matter of days, the discipline is not simply gaining a new tool. It is undergoing a fundamental transformation in what is possible and how quickly it can happen. The pace of discovery is no longer limited by how fast a team can dig, catalog, and interpret. It is limited by how quickly the right questions can be asked of the right data. And AI has just made that ceiling dramatically higher. Until very recently, archaeology moved slowly by necessity. A single excavation could consume years of careful work before yielding interpretable results. Entire research careers were built around single sites, single structures, and single questions pursued across decades of patient fieldwork. AI has not eliminated that careful work. The physical excavation, the contextual interpretation, the scholarly debate, all of that still matters and always will. But it has radically compressed the timeline for identifying